Bulletin with some breaking news coming in. Russian President Vladimir Putin has arrived at Palam Airport in New Delhi in India for his two-day state visit. He will be received by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and later in the evening Putin will be attending a private dinner hosted by the Indian Prime Minister. The visit is expected to focus on strengthening bilateral ties, including defense, trade, energy and technology cooperation. Officials say both leaders are going to discuss regional and global issues, reinforcing the strategic partnership between India and Russia. And these are now live visuals on your screens, viewers, as Putin is set for a two-day visit to India. He is now landed at the Palam Airport in the national capital of India, New Delhi. He's just about to disembark from the aircraft. Lot of things in the agenda as Prime Minister Modi and President Putin meet. Russian President Putin to start his two-day diplomatic visit. Delhi and Moscow are expected to sign a number of deals during the visit, which comes months after the US increased pressure on India to stop buying Russian oil. Now, let's remind you, viewers, India and Russia have been close allies for decades, and Putin and Modi share a warm relationship, a special friendship. Trade deals and discussions on geopolitics is expected when the two leaders meet. And now Gilbert Doctorow, who is a Russia affairs expert, joins us live from Brussels. Also joining us is a retired Major General Sudhakar Ji. But I'll take it up with you first, Mr. Doctorow. What should we expect from this visit for Russia, that's in the middle of brokering a peace plan with the US over the Ukraine war? What will be its expectations from India as far as that is concerned?
I think that Russia will receive some warm words of support from Prime Minister Modi, who has been following very closely the Gulf of War and the peace initiative that is underway with Mr. Trump behind it. India has made a very big contribution to the Russian economy and his demonstration of faith and its continuation of a long-lasting near alliance between the two countries by becoming the single largest buyer of maritime delivered oil from Russia, and having increased its imports of Russian petroleum many-fold, so that petroleum is now the largest component of bilateral trade, accounting for perhaps $50 billion worth last year. So this will be the basic mood of the visit. However, the visit comes at a difficult time because the Trump-imposed secondary sanctions on India are very painful, and as a result, a number of large importers of Russian petroleum in India have stopped their imports. Whether there will be workarounds of one kind or another is difficult to foresee. One imagines that something like this will happen. So the visit is coming at a difficult moment, but also a necessary moment, because obviously they're going to have discussions behind closed doors, with a security and confidentiality which is impossible to do by telecommunications. So it is important.
All right, I'd now request retired Major General Sudhakar Ji to join us in this discussion. Sudhakar Ji, defense, energy and trade are of course going to be overshadowing the discussions between the two leaders, are going to be the key agenda of the meeting as well. But interesting statement has come in from Rajnath Singh just some short while ago, where he says it's a factor the India-Russia strategic ties are a factor for balance in South Asia. Please do expand on that for our viewers.
Yeah, Kriti, good evening. Thank you for getting me for your show. It's balance. When you talk about balance in South Asia, it is balance of power. And when you talk about balance of power in South Asia, it takes my mind back to the book which I often refer to. This is with regard to the world order is going to be driven by geoeconomics, and the geoeconomics is going to gravitate with the commercial basket towards the South Asia or the Indian Ocean. And the book is about the Indian Ocean. Dr. Robert Kaplan, he's written that the India today, as we have a huge basket of consumer base, more than 500 million people who have the capability to expend more than $12 a day, and it is second to China. This itself is going to attract the global order. So balance of power today, this book is actually driving the policy makers in USA to reorient themselves so as to get into the space which they had thrown open or abandoned a couple of years back, and China has managed to penetrate into the space. And there is a pushback being resorted to by USA in different forms, contours, and colors. Take the example of Bangladesh or take the example of Pakistan elsewhere. And they are trying their best to get into Bagram airfield in Afghanistan as well, trying to keep an eye on the Iran, and mindful of the fact that USA only under domestic constituency pressure in 2021, they had abandoned or left Bagram airfield in haste in middle of the night. So this is one part. Second part, I want to say, when you talk about the balance of power in South Asia, what it means is that today there are three different spheres which are in conflict with each other. The radical Islamization, which has shown up a very ugly face in places like Bangladesh, and not too far away in the east is Myanmar. We are aware of what is happening in Myanmar. Number two, China has penetrated into the Bangladesh in a big way. This committed around 38 billion US dollars from 2016 onwards. 18 billion dollars have been committed, be it the national highway, pipeline, railway line, airfield, hydropower stations, or the naval dockyards, or anything. The military, entire military is being supported, and mindful of the fact that whatever hardwares are coming from China, interestingly, major share of it is coming through Pakistan. So this is a very interesting aspect we need to see. And also be mindful of the fact Russia also has got a nuclear reactor going. They're the one primary sources in Bangladesh itself. So when you talk about balance of power, it also means that Myanmar is witnessing a strategic rivalry, Pakistan is witnessing a strategic rivalry, so as the country like Maldives and Sri Lanka and Nepal, as also Bhutan. China is trying to penetrate into the Bhutan, given the fact that no P5 member countries have been allowed to establish the diplomatic mission in Bhutan so far. So under these circumstances, there are three conflicts, one, the sphere of influence. One is the China authoritarian, second is the Islamic fundamentalism, and third one is the liberal democracy, that is the USA trying to give pushback to China and get into it. Under these circumstances, India is seeking out that the balance of power would do well in order to put India into a perspective of progressive roadmap of growth, economic, military, as also diplomacy and technology. That's why this statement has been given very meaningfully and in a timely manner. Back to you, Kriti.
All right, thank you for those observations and your perspective, retired Major General Sudhakar ji. Now, I don't know if Dr. Dr. continues to stay with us here in the discussion. All right, I'm told Mr. Dr. continues to be with us. So I want to come to you now, Mr. Dr. Of course, defense is going to be a key question. I'm also going to come to the question of nuclear energy. But one of the most crucial aspects in the meeting is going to be oil trade, particularly after US threats of sanctions to Russia. India, of course, continue on its negotiations with Russia and continues to purchase oil and gas from Russia, which it has been for a very long time. How do we see those discussions taking place, especially when oil trade was almost drying up?
Well, yes, it just isn't drying up naturally. It's drying up under U.S. pressure. And this brings up a very relevant point because Russia and India are both founding members of BRICS, and BRICS is commonly viewed as the moving force of the global South and the moving force of multipolarity. However, Mr. Trump has done something very important which cannot be denied. He has blown a hole in BRICS. And so I believe that both Prime Minister Modi and President Putin will be discussing this among many other geopolitical issues. What is the best way to continue the progress towards multipolarity? I believe there is a shift underway from BRICS to the Shanghai Cooperation Agreement, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which India is now, as I understand, becoming a full member. The main point, though, is that they will try, the president and the prime minister will try to call out definite prospective areas of cooperation that have big euro, dollar, ruble values attached to them, to raise the level of trade, because although it has reached 68 billion euros equivalent in the last year, 50 billion of that was oil trade, which is now, as you suggested, drying up. And there are great opportunities for large-scale ventures in other areas, such as have been outlined by the Sherpas who are preparing the way for this meeting. That is in the far north, the Arctic North. That is, as you've mentioned, cooperation in peaceful atomic energy, and of course in the military. And in the military, I think this will definitely be an issue that may result in some announcements at the end of this summit, and that's regarding the jet fighters and the air defenses, because the air defenses of the S-400 is certainly desired by India. The need for this scale, this quality of air defense was proven in the brief military conflict with Pakistan. The need for, though the interest in latest generation Russian fighter planes also is highly relevant after the relative success of Chinese aircraft in the fleet of Pakistan against French-supplied fighter planes in the Indian armed forces. So these are highly topical.
All right, I requested to stay on, and pardon to interrupt you there, but we're getting live visuals of President Putin disembarking from the aircraft, and he's now received by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two leaders greet each other with a warm hug as President Putin disembarks from his aircraft. That camaraderie between the two leaders and leaders of two countries with strategic ties and allies, one of a natural friendship apparent on your screens there, viewers. President Putin now meeting with the officials who are there along with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Palam airport, where he received President Putin. Viewers, let's remind you that Prime Minister Modi will be hosting Mr. Putin this evening for the 23rd India-Russia summit. And this, in fact, is going to be a two-day visit. Russian president being welcomed by Indian classical performers there at the Palam airport in a display of India's cultural extravaganza. This is the 23rd India-Russia annual summit, which Prime Minister Modi invited Russian President Vladimir Putin for, And in fact, this is his first visit to India in 4 years' time. The talks between the two leaders are definitely expected to focus on boosting trade, defense ties, and is in fact happening amid external pressure and exploring cooperation in other small modular reactors. Now, tomorrow, as discussions between the two leaders begin, Mr. Putin will be accorded a ceremonial welcome before the summit, and after that, he's set to launch some of the key programs and will attend a state banquet as well that will be hosted by Indian President Draupadi Murmu. And I'd now request Mr. Gilbert Doctor to join us back in the discussions here. Mr. Doctor, the friendship between the two leaders, the camaraderie is evident in the visuals that we are now showing live to our viewers internationally. President Putin was received by Prime Minister Narendra Modi with a warm hug. Now, interestingly, ahead of this visit, there are reports that India has in fact signed a $2 billion deal to raise a Russian nuclear submarine. The vessel is expected within 2 years, and it's evidently going to train naval personnel and enhance India's strategic capability in the Indo-Pacific as well. What's your take on that?
New area of cooperation. It's a new area for cooperation between Russia and India, but it's a new area for Russia to supply leading high technology military hardware to allies or close partners. So in every respect, it is breaking new ground, and India can be very proud to be the one partner to break that new ground.
All right, let's go back to the visuals once again. Now, after receiving President Putin, Prime Minister Modi and the President are now headed and are likely going to be partaking the state dinner that Prime Minister Modi will be hosting for President Putin. But once again, viewers, let's remind you that trade, defense, nuclear energy are going to be among key topics. But also crucial is to note here is that President Putin's visit is coming as just after he's met US envoy Steve Witkoff amidst negotiations on the Russia-Ukraine war peace plan. Mr. Doctor, now Prime Minister Modi here has a tightrope to walk on, given that India has said that it continues to side with peace. Prime Minister Modi has met both with Zelensky and Putin. So it's going to be difficult for him, isn't it, as to negotiate a possible ceasefire. India has previously also acted as a mediator, and the timing of the visit, of course, is crucial. How is Prime Minister Modi going to balance this?
Well, I don't think he's obliged to balance this. The appearances are important. And as you said, he meets with Zelensky, he meets with Putin. So he is not just conferring with one side. But the reality is, of course, lopsided economic cooperation with Russia. And so it is understandable where India is. It is in close relation to Russia. And I think it is not because of any animus or a lack of interest in Ukraine. I think it is because Mr. Modi understands perfectly that Russia is fighting not Ukraine, Russia is fighting NATO. And it is in the interests of multipolarity that NATO be taken down a few pegs, and that the Western global hegemony be taken down a few pegs so that they can speak in realistic terms with the global south and with India as one of the most prominent members of the global board of governors.
Right, sure. Well, we'll continue those discussions, but for now, let's move on. I request to stay on with us, Mr. Doctor. Now, Russian Foreign Ministry viewers and its spokesperson Maria Zakharova has said that Ukrainian attacks on all tankers in the Black Sea and on